Dear grandchild, Grandpap's 100th birthday is coming up and my sister will be holding his party. I'm afraid she is trying to seduce your grandpap. Why don't you come help me spoil dinner and bring grandpap back? Love, Granny Anne.
Wow, those are some lovely ingredients. Korean food, my favorite.
I know you love spicy food, so I got those chilies just for you.
Actually, doctor just told me I shouldn't eat spicy food. I might overheat my brain.
Oh no! I'm sorry to hear. That's no problem. We'll adjust the recipe.
You're too nice.
Would you cook as I help Grandpap? Please put the right ingredients into the pot. Remember, chilies! Oh no! Remember, Grandpap can't eat the chilies. What's wrong with you, child? No chilies.
I love a juicy fish. Too cooked and it's kaput.
Grandchild, why don't you burn all the fish?
Let me try some of this. Oh, too spicy. Ha ha, don't I have too spicy? Gross. Who cooked the fish? Honey, let's go home. Something's very wrong here.
Yes, this is no way to spend your 100th birthday.
Cool. So you guys basically took what you had last time and pretty much just finished it. You didn't have to reinvent it or anything. You just were like, okay, you had some core interactions that were working well, and you kept working on them and got the whole thing done. So you still have a lot of the same strengths as last time. You have these interesting and compelling characters, and you have a good interface for kind of interacting with a virtual world. Being able to kind of interact with this grill right in front of you. But at the same time, you took all that and then you just got it really finished. You got this clear UI about how many chilies you're supposed to put in. And then you sort of established the motion of the the sister really well. The whole idea when she's walking towards you, she can see you. When she's walking away from you, she can't see you. And she's not walking at random. Like, this actually seemed fairly natural, that she would kind of check on what you're doing, but then go over there and talk to the grandfather, because you've established that, like, you know, she's trying to steal the grandfather. So, of course, she's going to go talk to him. So even though this is a really simple kind of a world and an experience, the characters were interacting in ways that were interesting and natural. So the grill looked great, the characters looked great, the interactions were kind of good and natural. You ended up having 2 levels, one about putting in the chilies, and the other one a different challenge of like trying to burn the fish. And that's just like the novelty of, like, you know, your goal is you're going to cook, but you're trying to burn this, but not while someone's looking. It's almost like a stealth game. It's kind of like a weird sort of a stealth game where you're kind of stealthily trying to burn all the food. So that's novel and interesting, and at the same time understandable. And then you combine that with some fun voice acting. You dealt with some of the little things. Like I was all hung up last time about, like, wait a minute, you know, the sort of the culture clash issues, and you dealt with it. You put one line in, like, oh, Korean food, I love it. You know, it's like, okay, great, now the problem is solved. Like, one line solves that whole problem. And some of your lines, they were just great. You're good with little moments, like the doctor says I shouldn't have too much spicy food, which, like, okay, I get that. He's an old man. It might overheat my brain. And, like, okay, that's funny, right? You set up that thing and then put a funny punchline on it. And then you had that other punchline of her, you know, this is no way to spend your 100th birthday, and she carries him away, right? That was just really unexpected and kind of cute and funny. And so, again, good character moments. You had novel interactions, good use of the medium, interesting character moments, and then a lot of clarity on top of it too.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the things you did was you're doing an interesting balance between interfaces and sort of like artificial UI. And so you had, like, we're putting chilies in from an infinite little pile of chilies, but there's a little meter that fills up, and it was one of the questions, like, well, what are the consequences of the sister coming over? And it was a little subtle, but, like, a chili goes away. Like, you lose progress, and that progress, like, you reinforced it both with there were like 4 chilies, now there are 3, and then a number goes down. And so just finding that balance worked out pretty well. There's some of it was a little heavy-handed, like the success was a big spinning success thing. And one of the questions I had was, you set us up for when we serve this to the grandfather, it'll have an effect. And I was like, well, wait a second, like, is he eating it? And it happens at the end. And I think it's an interesting sort of story thing, which is you are building the whole dinner, and then you will sort of see the consequences. And I think one of the questions would have been, like, just that moment of success. Like, I wasn't too sure. Like, I was like, even having, like, the grandma say, oh, great, like, that one's done or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't really clear what progress was there. And I think it was nice, satisfying at the end, having, like, the grandfather, like, spew flames into the air.
That was great.
But I was just sort of a little confused in the middle of, like, were we just done with the spicy food? We have no payoff, or what?
Yeah, and if it felt like a little bit of a missed opportunity, because that success thing was a little bit like, wait a minute, something we're really, really in video game land, when what we needed more of was, we didn't have much opportunity for the grandmother to kind of establish much character. She didn't do very much compared to the other 2. And that would have been a moment for her to be like, this is perfect, it's horrible, you know, something that kind of established a little more of a character moment for her probably would have fit in there a little better.
Yeah, but overall I think the balance between making it clear to the guest if they're being successful, what their progress is, and keeping that grounded in the story was, for the most part, working really well. And even, like, the sister, like, I think you did some good stuff where it was a dangerous space for, like, repeated dialogue and whatnot, but for the most part, like, she came over and said, oh, that's, you know, what are you doing? And it was just good in-story feedback for that. So I think you struck a good balance in it and made the world come to life.
Yeah, you have so much is done right here that, like, when we talk about things that could have been better, they're little things. I mean, because you made a lot of really smart choices and used the medium well and had great characters and took the whole helping concept and took it somewhere really unexpected and interesting. So, great work.
Thank you.
Team 11.